Okay, thanks. Okay, thank you all for being here. Sorry for this delay. So we're having today a 1-hour session on considerations for inclusive and co-creative practices for marginalized communities, where we will briefly present some theoretical background. We can already go through the agenda, maybe. So the theoretical background, and this is the work that is produced through the University of Amsterdam and also Demos Helsinki. Then Sophie will be presenting some key learnings on the interactions among interested parties and the deck of cards that is being created for the project. And then we have the highlights, which is a case study similar to the ones that you will be producing from Nikolai and his company 121 Run, which was run in Amsterdam. So it's a real case for you to get inspired as well on matters of co-creation. So this meeting is recorded, and feel free to keep your cameras off, as I've seen that you have already done. But in case you don't mind, just keep it open. Can you hear me? Most of you? Okay. I'm not sure
Yes.
why. Okay, there's a person texting that they cannot, but maybe Francesca write them. Thank you. So yeah, if it's not an issue for you, just unmute yourselves, turn on your cameras, and let's interact. So I want to briefly present the Community Lab space before we move on to the main part, which is an activity that we produce through the project. And it's basically a mutual learning space. It's a space for you to get access to the material that we're creating, and also for you to connect with one another. So there's 3 spaces. There is the capacity building space, there is the knowledge repository, and the community engagement and collaboration space. Going briefly through the content that is hosted in each of these categories, we have the capacity building space, which includes a frequently asked questions page, which includes questions general on what piloting is, how to pilot in the best way possible, and how to interact with marginalized groups. So there's lots of topics that matter to the project included there. Then we have the webinars. The recording of this event will also go there for you to check out later, but you can also check previous recordings. The multimedia, which is mostly videos, and then the tips and tricks page on, again, how to co-create. There is some information on how to design a living lab and more. And now going to the knowledge repository. We're hosting there the community journey. So what is the procedure for joining one of the piloting rounds from challenge formulation to implementation? Then we have a catalog of tools, which has been published recently, and there you can access all of the previous pilots from the first 2 rounds, which I believe will be very interesting for you as well. And after the end of your pilots, they will be added there as well. So this can be promoting material for you afterwards. Then there is the manuals, which I believe that you have already familiarized yourself with, which is on open calls and piloting. And the methodologies, tools, and toolkits page, which includes the toolbox on co-creation and marginalized groups, and some the tech framework that has been developed. And now I would like to just briefly present the toolbox, which you can find when you access Community Lab at the knowledge repository, here at the methodologies, tools and toolkits. It's the first one, and once you click it, you can go through the procedure. This has been developed by our colleagues. It's a 6 steps procedure, and you can go through you can go through it. And there's also some useful general tips for you to take into account when co-creating, especially in consideration with marginalized groups. And lastly, we have the collaboration and engagement space, which is a space where we want you to interact with one another. We want you to share what you do. In case you have any troubles, you can share it and receive feedback from your fellow pilot teams. We also have this news and events agenda, where you can also share your progress as you move towards piloting. So feel free to reach out to me to host your article. And then there's also the suggestion box where we collect feedback and suggestions from your side in order to improve our offering and make it match your needs as you also test it out. This is all. I just want to say that this is the second co-creation session. There is one more coming up on the 30th of January on technology and ethics. So if you haven't been to the one that was on the 16th of January, you can always participate on the one on the 30th. And for those tech savvy who will be working on chatbots, we have this event on exploring large language models, where the AI lab from the City of Amsterdam will present their own case studies. And we will also have an interactive session for you to ask questions and better understand how they manage to incorporate the chatbots in the municipality offerings, which I believe will be very interesting for some of you, for sure. And then in terms of Community Lab in general, we want to assess with you the offering of Community Lab, and we will have an event for that in March. And we also want to showcase your work. If you're working with MIMS, the minimum interoperable mechanisms that are presented in the technology and ethics sessions, we want to give you space to present your case study. So this is an event for May. And with this, I finish. I give the word to Aida to present the theoretical part on co-creation.
Thank you very much, Dane. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Aida Kalender, a researcher at the project Communicity, currently employed in University of Amsterdam. And our role in this project was to observe and analyze processes of particularly co-creation within piloting, and also reading about it and trying to set up a theoretical background, which I will briefly present you in the following slides. So Dana, if you can change it. Yes, thank you. So starting from the definition of co-creation, generally co-creation is considered as collaborative approach to creative problem solving involving diverse stakeholders at all stages of piloting process on equal terms. So equal terms is really the most important here. Next slide, please. We identified three forms of co-creation in this definition. First form is co-creation for, second is co-creation with, and co-creation by. So I will explain in the next slides what every co-creation definition means. So co-creation for would happen when you actually develop a technical tool for a certain target group or maybe users. Solution exists already, and it is actually through co-creation tested or adapted to the needs of the target group. Co-creation with is a little bit more equal participation of target group in the co-creation process, problem is given, as in community, problem is here challenge that you have been applied to, and solution is designed together with the representatives of the target groups or marginalized groups, mostly some civil society organizations or cities or city services that you will work with in order to develop your tool or solution. And finally, we also see that co-creation should also extend to the point that marginalized communities actually also develop technical tools, and that the problem is actually set by the marginalized communities. This is some kind of vision for the future where we would like to empower marginalized communities and citizens to really take active role in the development of the technological solutions, and also to also give some kind of ownership to these groups for the development of the digital solutions. Next slide. We would like to remind you on the definition of marginalized communities, which are in focus of Community project. So marginalized communities such as racial, religious, and ethnic minorities, women, migrants, and refugees, persons with disabilities, the elderly, the LGBTQ community, and people living in poverty, they all lack agency to become stakeholders in the urban design processes. Their existence is often neglected and their needs remain unheard. In our project, we would like to put the needs of marginalized communities in the center and try to develop technical solutions or technical tools that would answer these needs. And of course, we see a possibility to do that through co-creation. Next slide, please. Depending on the level of involvement of marginalized communities in the project development, in the product development, we can have distinction of three types of or interpretations of technical solutions for marginalized communities. First one is for the individual benefit. So actually you develop typical user segments oriented view and try to solve problems of an individual person belonging to certain marginalized community. Second type is tools for the benefit of single communities. For example, you are developing tools for one particular community, like, for example, language tool for minority community living, for example, in the Netherlands or similar, but still this is focused more on one single community, and it has some kind of also private characteristics. But the third view is focused on public interests and also empowerment and enhancement of the society in general. So it is really society-oriented or community-oriented, has public view. So these are three interpretations of technical solutions for marginalized communities. Next slide, please. One of the most important questions that we ask ourselves while interacting with marginalized communities in this project is, who is the problem owner? And there are three dimensions that converge to a common core, asking the questions: which people are the target of co-design effort? Which ownership do they have? and who is setting the problem space, which is really a crucial phase of all design efforts, possibly the most meaningful for empowering marginalized communities, and yet it has a limited role in the current practices. Setting the problem space is the key to co-creation by efforts. It means that marginalized communities need to have really active participation in defining the problems and challenges of the future piloting calls. Next slide. And actually, we ask ourselves why this co-creation by is so difficult. Possible explanations are because even if marginalized communities participate in identifying the problem, this does not automatically mean that this will yield a solution. Also, navigation of a solution requires adequate knowledge, and follow-up on identified problems may require also politically charged actions. So one of our hypotheses is that the whole project of digital innovation for marginalized communities is actually a political process. Next slide, please. How to improve the current situation? There is no, and possibly there cannot be a clear procedure on how to deal with co-creation by efforts. However, we suggest so-called self-reflection mechanisms that are meant to raise the awareness on the current limitations of co-creation with marginalized communities, and in order to enhance self-reflection of tech developers while interacting with marginalized communities, we developed a set of questions or critical questions that you can ask yourself and somehow check whether you are on the right path or not. These questions are shown on the next slide. So if you receive these slides, you can check whether this applies to you or not. Next slide, please. Dana, can you change it, please? Or
is it not changed?
Yeah, next one, please. So maybe my internet is a little bit slower.
Oh,
so
sorry.
Why is this reflection on co-creation relevant? If you can open the next slide, Dana, and don't touch, that's good. So actually, we think that involvement of marginalized communities in the tech transformation goes beyond co-creation process. It also is part of the requirement, of the official requirement now that are stated in the AI Act, data ethics principles, etc. And our opinion is that the role of intermediaries is crucial, as they may provide a long-term monitoring of these technical tools during deployment, protecting communities and also diffusing relevant expertise within society. And these intermediaries are, in our opinion, civil society organizations which work closely with marginalized communities. Next slide. Yes, and this was all from the University of Amsterdam theoretical background. In our research group, in our research team is also Hogeschool van Amsterdam and also Demos Helsinki, a think tank from Helsinki, and our role was to produce knowledge around co-creation processes and piloting processes of Communicity. And now I give a floor to my colleague from Amsterdam University of Applied Sciences, Sophie Vermaning, to present their findings on co-creation in Communicity.
Thank you, Ida. My name is Sophie Vermaning, and well, as I've already been introduced, I'm a researcher from Amsterdam University of Applied Sciences. So we've been doing research with different pilots, observing their co-creation sessions where it was possible, and been doing a lot of interviews. And based on that, we've been making a tool. And I will tell you something about that tool. So I think I'll start again with just trying it out for 1 second. So I'd like to ask you all to maybe think about the second question on the card, coordinate with empathy, about what helps you stay flexible when unexpected challenges arise that need more time or resources. And these questions are particularly made for co-creation processes where you cannot tell what's going to happen. So there are a lot of uncertainties. So maybe you can keep in mind a last session where you co-created with people while thinking about this question. And if you'd like, you can tell us in the chat maybe. What helps you to stay flexible in processes like these? Take a little time to answer the question. You dare maybe tell us about it in the chat, and then I'll go on because we have limited time. Maybe Danny. Yeah. So these are a couple of examples. I have the card set here now. Last time I didn't yet, but we've already have our first pilot on it. These are a couple of different categories, which I'll tell you something about. Maybe you can go to the next one, Dana. Because well, we did our research. I think we did around like 30 interviews and a couple of observations in the first and second round. It wasn't always possible to observe the co-creation sessions because of planning, but also because people were not always wanting more people with the communities, but just keeping the familiar faces. But we did talk to a lot of people in the pilots who could tell us something about the sessions. And we tried to, our research was about finding out what is helpful in creating impactful co-creation sessions. So really how can you make sure that the impact of the co-creation on the product and on the community in the end, is best, works bestly. So we made a couple of categories that came out of our data set, and those categories we try to make a lot of questions about those categories and put them in the cards so that you can use it also, like Ida also already told you, to reflect on the process, because all the co-creation processes are different and all the stages are different, but we wanted to create a tool that helps you throughout all those different stages of the process to keep on reflecting on, are we still doing what we want? Is still everybody included? Are we still taking different perspectives with us? Are we still helping to create impactful co-creation? And maybe think about ways to make it better. So we have 3 categories we saw mostly as very impactful on the co-creation sessions, which were identifying and understanding the community needs. So how can you really understand what the problems and what the questions are that they are dealing with, and not handling from stereotypes or maybe preconceived thoughts about the needs. And we also found that creating shared understanding of the process is very important. So I think that's also one of the reasons this meeting is here now, to really, like Ida already told you, the definition, so we all have a same view of what it really holds. And also the project organization. So just like I asked in the question before, not every challenge is the same, not every process is the same, and sometimes it's very difficult with the limited resources you get to really focus on building strong relationships, for example, and how do you deal with that and how do you make sure you get most of it? Those were our main areas. And Dana, can you maybe go on to the next? So we made a report about these different areas, which resulted in our tool. And I will not tell you all about it now, but maybe I think it will be finished in 2 weeks or something like that. And we'll send it around as well on how can you really identify and understand the community needs. So really hear what they think is important, make sure you have the right community representation, and how can you make sure you because often communities have how do you say I don't know the English word now, but there are a lot of circumstances that are vulnerable. That's the word I was looking for. And how do you handle that carefully and sensitively? And how can you be truly transparent? Because the whole concept can be very idealistic. And of course, it's also just a process where you have a product and you have limited time, and that's just what you have to deal with. So how can you communicate that very transparently and make sure that you have a sustainable product, even though that may not be what everybody wants in the beginning, but communicate it well. Dana, can you go on to the next one? And of course, the shared understanding of the process. I think the whole site, which Dana already showed you in the beginning, is also helps you, gives a lot of tools for how to create that. But like, how can you make sure that it's really about true collaboration and not testing? We saw that it often turned into testing, which is understandably, but it also loses some of its value by making it that way. Who facilitates the process, like making sure somebody really understands what it is and how to really get the different parties on the table. Can you get to the next one, Dana? Thank you. And how to handle the time constraints, the budget constraints, but also understanding the diverse complexities of the challenges, so that the focus of challenges may be different for every. If you, for example, have a challenge about some people were working with child poverty, which is a very big social topic, is differently from when you have a smaller application in a hospital to help nurses do something faster, and really understanding the sensitivities also and the difference in the complexities of these challenges. Can you go to the next one, Dana? So we thought of 5 categories for the card set to stimulate reflection, empathy, and connection, because of all the differences and the importance of constantly reflecting on the process. And it will never be perfect, but you can always learn and help during the process make it better. So we saw the champion inclusivity. So how can you make sure that you're really being inclusive in your process, strengthen connection and foster the relationships, that you're coordinating with empathy, and that's also part of the budget and the time constraints, opening up to the context, to really understanding other people and the different interests in the whole process, and framing to the bigger picture. And I think that's also what Ida said, the different levels. I think framing the bigger picture for us was actually going past all those levels and every time seeing like what does it really mean and when is it really impactful. So that's our product. And we actually want to ask you all, next week it's going to the print so we had our first tryout here, and we made some little we made it a little bit better, and next week it's going to the printer and will be printed, and we are going to try to get it to all the pilots and ask you to use it, and you can use it in different stages of the process, like I already said, and we would like, of course, to have some feedback on it. And this QR code doesn't work yet because it's not finished yet, but next week it will be finished, and we're going to put it also on the box of the card set, and going to ask you to fill out some questions to help us make it even better for coming projects. So you will hear from us, and I would like to wish you all the best with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sophie. Just a moment, because I went to the very, very end. Okay, now we have Nikolai next to present one-to-one run and how he co-created with his target group. So Nikolai, the floor is yours.
Yep, thank you, Dana. My name is Nikolai. I'm the co-founder of One-to-One Run. We're on a mission to help people exploring social and mental benefits of sports. And today I'm going to share some information about our pilot with it was a second round last year. And the girls meetup, Maidan Up, is the pilot we made together with the municipality of Amsterdam. So we can go to the next slide. This is a little bit to bring some structure in the presentation. So I will start with the challenge, then I will say something about the stakeholders, the target group, and I will try to focus on the co-creation itself. And then we can discuss the lessons learned and next steps. Yeah. Can go to the next slide. So that was the challenge. Among teenage girls, there's a huge decline in sports activities uh, in some areas of Amsterdam. And basically, we looked at this challenge from different perspective because we wanted to understand how we can solve it. And during the first co-creation, we, together with the stakeholders, we choose the research question, and we decided to go ahead with the motivation of girls. And for us, it was important to understand how we can encourage girls to take part in sports and exercises, and what can we do with their motivation using the tech solution. And that was the first co-creation. The first co-creation, for the first co-creation, we invited only everyone except the girls. So basically, we looked at the whole ecosystem in Amsterdam, municipality, sport coaches, sport clubs, sport maculars as well. So we invited all of these stakeholders on a meeting, and the first thing we do, so we presented the problem, and we also try to look at all the targets these stakeholders have and how this problem reflect on their targets. Basically, it was an open discussion. We didn't have like a very structured discussion, but for us, we were more in a listen mode to understand. Okay, that potentially could be our partners. And during this session, we were lucky to meet Ellen. So Ellen Janssen, she's the local coach in the southeast area of Amsterdam, and she became our partner for this project. And I think for the first step, it's very important to find your local support, because you don't have enough time to get the whole expertise on the target group, and you need someone who could really assist you on a daily basis with their knowledge. Yeah, so we can go to the next slide. And then we, together with with Ellen and other stakeholders, we started preparing for the first co-creation session with the girls. So we designed some leaflets, as you can see on the left, and we also worked. And we also spent a lot of time working with on the structure of the meeting. And I think that was another important learning, that you need to validate and you need to align on the structure of the exercises you use working with the girls, and in terms of the timing and what exactly you want to get out of this meeting. So basically, you need to onboard everyone, and you need to act as one team, because I think we had in total 15 girls for the first co-creation, and then we had around 6 or 7 different stakeholders. So again, representing municipality, representing sport clubs, etc. So on the right side, you can see the planning and agenda for that meeting. And yeah, in the end, we followed all the points of this agenda, and we were quite successful with it. Yeah, we can go ahead. So here you can see more like detailed version of the agenda and the exercises we used. So for us, it was also important to understand what to understand as this situation and how girls doing sports, what type of sports they like right now, and what makes them join the activities or why they stay home, which applications they use, how they spend their free time, etc. And to be honest, the first part we use a lot of like we call it breaking the ice activities, where we just have lots of fun together with the girls. So you can see it on the picture. So they designed their own avatars, and we told them, look, we're going to use these avatars for you onboarding on the app. And also then we show them some AI capabilities for building new sports, and then they share their favorite locations in the area where they like to do certain activities. So it was lots of fun, and in the end we got more understanding of what they like and why they do these sports. And for us that was important to start thinking about the tech solution, actually. Yeah. We can, and that's basically the results. So what we saw, the most important things are, of course, the creativity and sense of ownership, because girls. So basically, we made the process this way, so they felt every time they felt themselves like being the owners of what they created. So, for example, the name of the application, Maiden App Girls Meetup, it was designed by them. We choose the colors together. We think about, okay, do we need to invite girls from other areas of Amsterdam to join the platform? Which sport clubs should join the pilot, or which sports they like or what they don't like, etc. So it was lots of how we call it, like a feedback loop communication. So we always ask them to participate actively and giving us advice of what they need. Of course, a safe environment is also important when they're doing sports. And yeah, so we also make it the application, the prototype this way, so they can feel safe and nobody could join the platform. And that was basically the highest priority for us, the safety and privacy of the data we use. And some findings like mixing different activities. So basically, the girls right now and the teenagers, 12, 14 years old, they like to mix sometimes unmixable things. Like they can do kickbox session, and after that they can do a makeup session, and then they have like a therapy session, and then they can come back to the boxing session again. So it was a little bit like mixing unmixable things. That was also something we used in the application. And of course, for us, it was important uh, to create the environment where they can openly communicate together with the sport club. So where not the sport club can offer the activities for them, but where the girls can offer something to the sport clubs and open the discussion with them. Yeah, we can move forward. Yeah, and this is the based on our kind of pilot. Uh, this is some of the ingredients of the insightful session. So as I mentioned, plan ahead is the very important thing. So if you do a co-creation together with your partners, plan it, try to understand what exercise and why you're doing that. This is very important. Engage stakeholders early. That's also important, and that could help you to understand the problem you're working on. Because when we looked at the problem, I understood that it has so many other small problems, and it actually boils down to a lot of problems related that to coaches or sport clubs. So you need to choose something small, and the stakeholders will always help you to do that. Find your local ambassador. So when we worked with the girls, we choose the most active girls being our ambassadors, and of course we always invite them for decision making process, etc. Like I mentioned. The next point, rehearse the plan. That's what I mentioned. I think it goes to the first point that I mentioned about planning. Make it playful and fun. for us, it was, I think, more important because we worked with the kids and the whole process designed for the kids. We try to gamify the experience as much as possible. But I believe that it relates to any other co-creation session as well, to a certain extent, because the more positive you have the environment is, the better, I think, for getting insights and to understand the target group. Building trust, the same thing, because like I mentioned, we had only few exercises that really tries to tease something from the girls, but in the end we just try to have fun together and try to create such an environment where girls can share something regarding their motivation, why they're doing this sport, why they're choosing football against kickboxing, for example. Yeah, and safe environment is also important. And for us, it was we also partnered with a local community center in southeast, Minami. So basically, all the meetings happened there, and for them, that was their home environment, very safe. And I think that that also helped a lot. Yeah. Move to the next slide. So this is some of the books that helped us. Yeah, the design thinking toolbox includes a lot of. We use some of the exercises for using together with the stakeholders or with the target group. And also, I like this book Sprint on the right. It's about more like structure your process when you try to identify the problem and to make a solution for this problem. Yeah. And this is the result of our co-creation. So we built Maidan app, kind of build a prototype, MVP, let's say. So it was an easy to use platform where coaches, they can create their events in seconds and the girls can propose their events. So we're lucky, so we can continue with this project this year together with the support of the community. And this year we're having more focus on specific sports like football, where we're still kind of exploring, and we have some co-creation sessions ahead of us. But we're very excited about this opportunity. Yeah, thank you. I think that's it from my side.
Thank you very much, Nikolai. I think that was a very interesting insight for the participants as well. And now we open up to questions. Does anybody have a question for Nikolai, Sophie, or Aida in terms of co-creation? Well, it will be a big process for you once you start piloting. So maybe now is not the right time to have questions, but later on, once you experience the procedure, it would be good to use the material that is provided to you and also get in touch in case we can support you. Well, if there are no further questions, we can close the session. I will be sending the PowerPoint presentation and the recording, either of this session or the previous one that we had via email, and I will also post it on CommuniLab. So you can access it. And yes, we are available. So in case something comes up later on, just let us know. Thank you. And thank you, Sophia, Aida, and Nikolai. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.